Hi, Peter Charles here, Hooked for Life Fly Fishing. And today we're going to do another one of my old patterns that I did a video, I don't know, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, somewhere around there, maybe even longer. And it's called the Little Brown Thing, or the LBT, and I'm lousy with names, so I couldn't come up with a name for it. So it's little and it's brown. If you come up with a better name for it, let me know. I'll stick it on the video afterwards in the text. But it's an effective little pattern, and I've used it in one of three ways. The first use was as a comeback fly. Now, let's say you're in sort of a grubby water situation with low visibility, and you've got a gaudy fly on. You can swing it down through the run, and a steelhead gives it a little whack, but you don't hook up. You move up the run, come back down again, nothing from the steelhead. So they've lost their interest in that fly. Go back upstream a few feet, tie on this little guy and come back down, and you got a good shot at hitting that fish because you've woken it up with the big fly, and now the small fly appeals to it, especially a small drab fly. Also, either in clear conditions or in sunny conditions, the small drab fly works quite well. I mean, if the water's very clear and it's a bright blue sky day, this is a great time to use it. And sometimes I've just put it on even in, when the conditions were not that great. It's just there was a lot of pressure from other anglers, and I thought, let's give them something small because they were seeing big and gaudy from everybody else. Let's give them something small and dark. And that's often been a key for my success. I've often had fish hit and hooked up and landed them on small dark flies when everybody else was using big and gaudy, even when the water was off color. So it works. So let's get started in looking at the materials. My hook today is going to be the low water salmon single in size 4. We're going to tie this low water style, so it's good to use a low water hook. My thread is this dark brown Vivas 10-aught. Our tag is Uni Mylar in the gold silver, and we'll be using the gold side. The rib is this small gold oval. Our body is going to be made of uni yarn in the bronze. Yeah, olive brown will work, medium brown, anything like that. You could go with an olive fly as well. I like brown, but you could work just as well with an olive brown fly. The hackle is going to be brown hen, and make sure you use one that is mottled, so you get, as it moves in the water, that mottling will work for you. And the wing is fox squirrel tail. So let's get started. Okay, we'll start the thread on the return just to pull that return together. Now we don't work too far down. This is low water style, so you don't want to be right down to the end of the hook here. We're going to have the body a little higher up. So now we tie in our mylar. Just get it out of the way. Make sure you're putting in touching turns so there's no gaps. Now we'll put in our rib. Now our yarn. Bring our thread forward. I'm going to use a rotary vise here, so I'll just put some half inches to keep everything in place. Now when we do this yarn body, we want like cigar shape. We don't want it to be like level. Give it a bit of a profile. So when you start off, I've got a bump there I'm dealing with, so I'm pulling the yarn quite tight to squish it down. And as soon as I come off the bump, I release tension, and that fluffs it up. So now we're just going to go up to the return, bring it back, and you can see how I'm controlling the angle to get the appearance of the cigar. And this point here, I've kept it relatively narrow, so that prevents the wing from spiking right up. It allows the wing to sit down on that. Trim our yarn off. Couple more half hitches. Now to apply the rib. So I'm going to put a turn at the back and then I'm going to come forward. Now if you're worried about durability, fold it back and trap it. That helps to keep a rib that won't fall out after a couple of fish. And I do that fairly frequently. I'll take a quill or a piece of material like a rib and fold it back. Okay, you can see how I've trimmed down this feather. I'm not going to use a whole feather, it'd be too much. I'm just going to grab the tip and fold it back in this fashion. And then I will just tie it in place. Flip that up. And I cut the tip off. Now we grab the hackle pliers and turn our hen quill on. Now, when you're first turning, you're going to get some trapped. Just push them back. Try to fold it over if you can. I find some barbs and some feathers will fold back and some won't. So if you've got some poking forward, just keep stroking them back. Get them to lay down if you can. Keep pinching it so your barbs go back, and just keep pushing and stroking them back. There we go. Now to take care of that quill. Now, like I said before, I'll fold that quill back. There we go. Perfect. Now for the squirrel tail, don't take very much. It's just a small fly, and just take a little clump. You see, that's a clump I've taken out before I clean it up and get rid of the small bits, the short bits, any fluff that might be there. There we go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to size it. We're going to bring the end of the wing to about this spot on the hook shank, just a little bit longer than the tag. Trim it off and do a pinch loop to get started. Soft wrap at the back, bring it forward nice and tight. And we'll whip finish. Okay, time for some head cement. Okay, there's our little brown thing ready to rock and roll. It's an effective little pattern. It's a nothing looking little pattern, and I think sometimes they're the ones that work the best. The big fancy gaudy ones, you know, they'll work on some fish, obviously. But especially on Great Lakes steelhead that don't go through that salt fresh transition, I think they're very bug oriented when they come into the river. And so a fly like this will often get hits where something bigger and gaudier may not always work. So give it a try, the little brown thing. Cheers.